Hello, everyone, and welcome back to WABAN, the movie and TV show podcast where an expert on the subject discusses things with the average viewer. I am your host, Nim, and I am joined here today by Superman.
Why do you always hesitate every time? I thought
Because my brain was like, I was thinking of saying a different name, but I decided to switch.
You always take a moment before to decide who you're going to say, and every time you still hesitate. And I'm just like,
right.
What is it? What is it? It's like a moment of panic.
I'm still waiting for your Superman impression.
Fuck. Here we go. Greetings, citizens. I don't know. Okay, Batman has a recognizable voice.
That's true.
Not really.
Well, the thing about Superman is he's supposed to be a character yes, he is this larger than life superhero who's super powerful and everything, but he's also a guy. He's just a normal guy, you know. Batman is this extremely tormented, dark brain guy who's never happy. Superman's just a normal, fun-loving guy who was raised, born in Kansas, not born in Kansas, but raised in Kansas, you know,
oh yeah, the Kryptonian alien, born in Kansas,
raised in Kansas. You know, so it's he is alien, but he's also human because he was raised 100% human.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that some versions don't get right. In the live action, the more recent live action DC movies with Man of Steel and the live action Justice League and Batman versus Superman and stuff. Especially in Batman versus Superman, they tried to make him seem like this he's this godlike, you know, superhero who can't relate to humans. He's oh, I'm looking down on these humans. Wow. Which is not the character at all.
Yeah. Because you have parents in Kansas.
Yeah.
You were raised like this.
Yeah. But on the other hand, this movie does that well. It does it right. Mm-hmm. These two movies, we're actually doing two movies. I know last week we said we were going to do one movie, Death of Superman, but we realized it was kind of technically part one of a two-part film series, so we decided to watch both of them. So we watched Death of Superman and the what is it called? Reign of the Supermen. I got the title wrong once when I was saying, when I texted it to you, I was I thought it was the Reign of the Superman, but then I realized it was Superman, and then when I actually started watching it, which makes sense when you watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's important to note, but we did not watch the Death and Return of Superman, which is the two movies combined. I don't know if there's a difference between these two things, but we watched the separate movies.
I mean, it's probably basically the same. There might be some. They might have cut small parts out or something. I don't know. Who knows? But
right.
Yeah, so that's what we watched, and like I said, they get I think they as far as I'm not a huge expert on the character of Superman, but from what I know about the character, I think they do him pretty well in these movies. He definitely has that human element to him where he is he is a real relatable guy, but also has these superpowers and these, you know, which that was always kind of the idea of Superman, is that he is just another human, but has these powers, and he just wants to use them to protect humans because he loves Earth. You know, it's his home.
Right. There is no difference between him that you'd expect from an alien because he was raised there and all that junk.
Yeah, it's the only differences between him and a regular human is the
powers,
physical side. Yeah. But mentally and emotionally, he is human. Whereas, other characters like Martian Manhunter, he does have that, alien side to him because he wasn't raised on Earth. He's, he's from Mars, but he was actually, raised on Mars and stuff. So it's like,
and even if you mention Batman, it's like he is human. However, he doesn't seem like it most of the time because of all the stuff that he deals with.
All the stuff that he deals with. Also, like, he wasn't raised the way a normal human is because he was super rich, but he was also like he went through the trauma of his parents dying, and then like also, just all that kind of adds up. Where it's like Superman, he was born and raised like on a farm in a small town. You know, like his parents are still alive. He's got nice, amazing, loving parents. You know,
trying to get a girlfriend. Has a nice person that he wants to, marry. I'm assuming, and all that junk.
Yeah, and like interactions he has with characters feel very human, which I think these movies do the character honestly better than what he's been done in the Justice League show that we've been watching. At least in season 1, from what I know, they might improve on it later. And then also I think they did better on it in the Superman show that came before. I haven't seen that show, but I've heard that it's like they handle it pretty well. I just feel like in that show, he's the most boring of the Justice League character members, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, whereas in these movies do a really good job at showing why he's an interesting character, at really showing the interesting side of the character. Because a lot of people do see Superman as a boring character because he's just this perfect guy who has all these superpowers and is like impossible to beat, kind of. But these movies do a good job at really humanizing him and telling a story that works for the character.
I do get what you mean when you say that people think he's boring, because like he's a man with no limits, and so it's just kind of like, oh, no matter what you throw at him, he's going to just tank it and dish out 10 times more.
Yeah, but on top of that, he's also boring. People might also consider him boring in the sense that like he's good. Like he's pretty much purely good. There's no negative personality trait to him at all. You know, like he seems like just the perfect guy. You know.
Yeah.
But I think this
upright to be interesting.
Yeah, and I think this is a story that does a good job at sort of utilizing that character type and doing something interesting with it, telling an interesting story with it. I think it does a good job at that. I don't know. It's hard to describe exactly. I mean, obviously there's the whole thing of like, oh, well, in this he does get beaten, he does die, you know, it shows that he is capable of dying. But there's also this, I mean, well, he kind of dies, he kind of comes back, but you know, whatever. But like, it's, I don't know, it's more interesting than the idea of like what happens when Superman is gone is explored a lot in the second movie, and which was pretty interesting, you know. But we can get into that more when we talk specifically on the second movie. I think we could start on the first one, just kind of dive deep into the first movie, and then kind of, I mean, we could talk about both at the same time as well, because they're kind of linked pretty well. But so the first movie, it's adapting a classic Superman story. I mean, when this story came out in the comics, the death of Superman, it was like a big deal. So, because I mean, you know, he's Superman, he's like the superhero, right?
Right.
And he died.
So overpowered that he's not supposed to die, and then he did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, like he is potentially the most iconic superhero, right? His name is literally Superman, because he's the most iconic superhero. He is like, so to have him die in a story is like a big deal. But
I don't know, he's definitely like one of the most iconic superheroes, right? But I don't know if it's just because he's a general powerhouse. Like the Flash has a focus on speed, and you know, Martian Manhunter has maybe a focus on like mental fortitude and his weird like phasing through things. But Superman is just, I'm a dude, I may have heat vision and can fly, but I am just a really, really strong dude. And that like generalness and overpoweredness of the generalness, I think adds to how iconic it is.
Yeah. That makes sense. But yeah, so I think the first movie, I actually really like. The thing is, like, okay, so when you get into the movie, you know the story, right? You know what's going to happen. You're like, okay, especially if you know, like, the comic, but also the title is literally called The Death of Superman.
Yeah.
So you know it's going to lead up to a fight between Superman and Doomsday, and Superman's going to die at the end. So, okay, the movie's gonna do that no matter what. But it's sort of like, okay, so what's gonna be the build up to that makes it an interesting story, that makes it a good movie? Because, I mean, just having Superman fight some alien and then die doesn't automatically make for an interesting story. So what are you gonna do with that? And I actually really liked a lot of what they did with this. Now, the Superman's sort of main story throughout the movie is this idea of, like, should he tell Lois Lane that he's Superman, and their kind of relationship issues they're going through, and I think that was actually genuinely handled pretty well. I thought, like,
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's still that weird thing of, like, how would she not be able to recognize him? Like, all he does is take his glasses off. But, like, if aside from that, it was really good. I thought the movie did a really good job with a lot of the dialogue and sort of a lot of the conversation between them to really build up the relationship, which I think is obviously a really important thing, especially for these movies, because Lois is such an important character in these movies. I don't know. I just felt like I was just really invested in their relationship, and then, like, yeah, and I kind of knew it was going to probably build up to a point where when he finally tells her he immediately has to go and fight Doomsday, I kind of felt like, because they were kind of building up both stories at the same time. You know, Doomsday crashes on his thing crashes, and he's going around killing people, and then eventually the Justice League, that whole try to fight him, that story's happening while at the same time as the Superman story of, like, him trying to deal with, like, how he's going to tell Lois and stuff.
I do like that aspect of the story a lot, though, because it's just this sort of thing, like, this larger-than-life character that shouldn't ever have anything to worry about because he's so powerful is worrying about just opening up to his girlfriend, like...
Yeah, exactly. And it really does a great job at humanizing the character. Yeah. Because, I mean, I think that's where some other versions struggle with really humanizing him and making him a relatable person, because he's supposed to be, even though he is, you know, you can't be he's not relatable in the sense of, like, he's super powerful and he's Superman, but the Clark Kent side of him, the real human side of him, is supposed to be this relatable guy. You know, like I said, a movie like Batman versus Superman, where he just seems like this stoic, above humans god who's, like, doesn't understand the humans, you know. It was just so not the character at all.
Right?
And it makes him almost more boring as a character, I thought. So yeah, and these movies also deal a lot with the idea of, like, what Superman means to the society as well. As, you know, as a symbol, and, like, you know, he's dead. In the second movie, it's like, he's dead. Who's going to replace him? Who's going to be the Superman? There's, like, all these different Supermen are, like, fighting over who's going to be the real next Superman, you know?
Right.
There's kind of this cool, interesting thing there, but also just, like, little things, like, all these people, like, look up to Superman. It seems like everybody in the society, which is kind of a nice thing to see, sort of something that makes him different than a character like Batman. Batman is a hero that always has kind of a complicated thing where, like, some people like him, some people don't. There's kind of this mixed vibe around whether he's good or not. He's always kind of had that, like, little thing. just because he seems like a bad guy, right? You know, he seems
his entire goal is to terrify criminals.
Yeah.
But Superman is fundamentally different in that regard.
Right. Whereas Superman, it's this idea of like everybody loves Superman, you know? There's the guy wearing the Superman shirt who ends up becoming Steel in the second movie. There's like the guy, the ship captain guy, who I think might be a character from like some of the old comics. I'm not 100% sure. But I could be right. I'm not sure.
All I know is my brain kept thinking of Popeye whenever I saw him.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He seemed like an old comic book character. He just seemed like the type of character who would have existed in like old comics. So I'm like, maybe he was in like some of the old Superman comics. And then like Jimmy Olsen obviously was a character in Superman comics. The guy, the red-haired guy who works at the Daily Planet. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like they did a good job of really leading up to the fight, so that, and the fact that they really built up that relationship between him and Lois, and like Lois finally opened the thing and it said "I love you," and like she, and it made that final moment of the fight like super emotional because. You know, he's barely still standing, and he has one last ditch effort to save Lois. And then after she says "I love you" to him, like she's like, "I read your note, I love you." And then like, I don't know, it was just, it so easily could have been just a cool fight, and that's it. And it was. I think the action is great in these movies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it like. Yeah, it just really gave it like more weight, more emotion to it, made you feel that final moment a lot more. Obviously, the visual of her holding his body as he dies, and, you know, the cape flowing in the wind, and like, you know, I mean, I think that was imagery from the comic as well. But like they, you know, recreated it pretty well in this movie.
I actually think the like cape, like getting stuck on the stick and it like swaying like a flag like that, I think that's actually, it's like on the box art of the movie, but I think it is also the cover of the comic. I think they just like straight up mimicked it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it works really well. It's a really good image. It's kind of it's a really good visual representation of like Superman has fallen, and, you know, the Man of Steel is done. And then the Justice League was in it, which I think was fine. I think they were the Justice League. I don't really have a lot to say. It was interesting. They kind of implied this former relationship between Superman and Wonder Woman, which was interesting. I don't know if that's ever in the I feel like they probably did that at some point in the comics, honestly, after however, you know, 80 some years of comics, 80 years, or
it would make sense.
Maybe not quite 80, but maybe at some point they would have done it. But so that was interesting. But it kind of gives this implication of like, she was a good match for Superman, but not Clark Kent, whereas Lois is like a good match for Clark Kent, kind of thing. Was kind of the thing they were trying to.
That's why I said it makes sense, because Superman, the entire, you know, main point of this is he struggles to open up to Lois about being Superman. So, easiest way around that, have a superpowered girlfriend. So then they already know it doesn't matter. You know, you don't have to put them in danger because they're already in danger and they can handle it already. Yeah, exactly. So like, maybe at some point they had a relationship because they were part of the Justice League together and they fought together and stuff. But then like maybe it didn't work out because like when they tried to like be normal together, like a normal relationship together, it didn't work out. Is kind of maybe what I was thinking, which I think is kind of an interesting idea. Whereas like Lois is like somebody that he's like genuinely has like a real normal human connection with. I don't know. You also mentioned how cool the fight was, which, like, there's all the emotional stuff, but that was a really cool fight, and I do love, like, all the action scenes throughout this movie, both of them, actually.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Especially coming from the old Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, like, some of the action... I feel like the action scenes in that show are not amazing. Like, I feel like there are definitely good moments in there. Then there are some action moments that I like a decent amount, but some of it just doesn't quite have the same level of just momentum to it or something. I don't know, something about the animation.
Superman, because, like,
especially with Superman, yeah,
he's so underpowered. At least apparently, you keep saying that that's better in the second season, but it's terrible. Yeah. He can't seem to do anything, but in this, he's like taking the giant steel wires from a suspension bridge and tying up Doomsday as if it's nothing.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's what Superman is supposed to be like, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you can see, like, okay, Wonder Woman put up a pretty good fight against Doomsday, but not nearly as good as Superman. Like, you could tell, like, yeah, Superman is even way more powerful and strong than Wonder Woman, which I feel like in the Justice League show, they almost seem equal in, like, strength, which isn't necessarily what it's supposed to be. Like, I'm pretty sure Superman is literally supposed to be the strongest member of the Justice League.
Right. It might also be a thing of, like, him holding back, because obviously he doesn't kill and he doesn't want to cause property damage. But like Doomsday,
there is an aspect of that in the show, and there's specific line that has to do with that later on. Maybe I think it's in the Unlimited, actually.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually pretty cool, but. Yeah, so because you even get a line like that in here, because it was Lois says, like, don't hold back when fighting him because he's going to destroy everything, you know?
You mean
like,
Wonder Woman?
Or Wonder Woman said that. Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking Lois said it. I don't know. I remember a character told him that.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, who would? And then my brain was thinking, who would he have talked to? Oh, I guess. It was Wonder Woman, because she was like, don't hold back because this thing's gonna destroy the world, kind of. Yeah.
Like, I cannot get over reaction in it, because just their clashes and him punching it or it punching him, vice versa, and the shockwaves that it makes and all the shattering glass just from that. It does a really good job of making you realize the sheer force behind everything.
Yeah, which is awesome. But it also does a good job at showing that Superman isn't just mindlessly fighting.
Yeah.
Because there's, like, without any thought of people, because there's moments where he, like, takes a second to look and, like, try to save somebody who's, like, in the way of the fight. Like that woman in the car and, like, and stuff.
And
like
the kid getting his little video game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, he's still a hero, you know? Which I really like that. And also, I do really like that. So, like, obviously, before you have different members of the Justice League trying to fight Doomsday, I love, like, all these super powered people are just trying to fight this big monster. You know, you think, yeah, only super powered people could be able to fight him. And then Batman's just in the thick of it as well. And you're like, oh, wait. There's also Batman.
I worry about Batman so much in these kind of scenarios, because it's just like, yeah, no, one hit, he's dead. Like, I don't care how much armor you have on.
It's hard to get one hit because he's Batman. Well, yeah, because Batman didn't even have armor, like any armored suit on in this. He was just in his regular Batman costume. Yeah. Speaking of Batman, I love the one part where the Justice League was having a meeting, and he's like, I have to go have a meeting for Damien's boarding school, because Damien is his son.
Batman has a parent-teacher conference?
Batman has a parent-teacher conference. And he, like, tries to imitate Batman. He puts his, like, fingers behind his head like that to bit the ears. Which is funny because it's like Batman's just this dark, creepy, stoic guy who never seems to have a sense of humor, and for him to be like, "Yep, parent teacher conference, got to go," it is funny. Oh my gosh!
Wasn't there also a moment where Wonder Woman was like, "Yeah, my merch has been doing good. If the Wayne Trust Fund can't keep up, I can help out." And Batman just looks at her and goes, "Are you serious? Like, you think my money's gonna run out? What the hell are you talking about?"
It's like, you think you Wonder Woman merch can keep up with Bruce Wayne's money? Okay. Yeah. It is kind of cool to see like the Justice League outside of the show, because I do like a lot of the characters of the Justice League in the show, aside from maybe Superman. But it's kind of nice to see like different versions of them. And this one has Hawkman instead of Hawkgirl.
Yeah, who has no character whatsoever. I'm not even sure if he has any lines.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not an important character. He's just another member of the Justice League. You know?
Right, but
like pretty much all the Justice League in this are just kind of there. Like, I think Wonder Woman has the most involvement, I guess, in the story. Like, she had the past relationship with Clark. She is becoming friends with Lois in the second one, you know. So, but that's okay because I mean, it's not their story. It's Superman's story. So. But yeah, no, I think in general, I think one of the biggest things I have to like, you know, praises I have for these movies is how they just handled the character of Superman, made him a good character. I liked Superman. I think it can be hard to make Superman interesting sometimes. And they did a good job. I don't know anything more you have to say specifically about the first movie.
I think I'm all good on that front.
Yeah, and obviously the two have different things that are linking them. So if there's something, you know, in the second movie that's related, we can always go back to it. So the second movie is Reign. Oh, you know, one thing I did want to mention is I really liked at the end of the first movie that scene, the boat captain guy, his like little morning he had on the boat on the dock where he's like, why would somebody as great as Superman live and he's like praying to God and stuff, like, why would you let somebody like Superman live when somebody, you know, instead of like a guy like me, or I don't know I don't remember the exact line.
You butchered that, but I get what you're talking about.
I did, because I don't remember the exact line, but it was like really good. Like, this movie actually could come very close to bringing me to tears, you know, like
you know what? Yeah, I think there were a few moments when I was pretty close.
Yeah, it's hard to do that for me, I think, but yeah, this one. But anyways, we can move on to the next one. So, from the beginning, there's suddenly a bunch of other Supermen, which I think is interesting. I kind of liked that idea of like, there's just a bunch of like kind of copycat Supermen, and it's like, oh, is any of them the real one, or all of them? Like, you don't know their motivations at first. You don't know where they came from. You're just kind of like, okay, they technically are fighting crime, but like, are they really as good as Superman is? Like, what's the implication of this? And it's like,
are they trying to replace him, or are they the real one because the body was lost?
Yeah, and like, so it creates this mystery, and it's like the movie starts to slowly solve each separate Superman is like a separate mystery, and the movie slowly starts to build on and solve each mysteries. So like, you know, one of the first ones you find out is like, oh, that the Lex Luthor made a clone, which is the Superboy one, and then Steel you find out not too far in, which I kind of, that one wasn't too hard to figure out, but then again, I know
that's pretty obvious.
I also know of the character of Steel from the comics and stuff. Like he's a, you know, he's a prominent character. But but those, I don't think those two were supposed to be hard to figure out. Those were kind of like but like you start to find out the mystery of the other ones. And another thing that I thought was interesting was, for a while there, you didn't know which one was like the bad one, because you knew there's at least one that's going to be like a genuinely evil one, right? Probably. Mm-hmm. I mean, because that's kind of how stories go, right? You got superhero stories go. You got to have a big bad villain. And they actually, there was a scene, the scene where he was talking to Lois, where you actually almost started to think that he might be the real one, the cyborg one.
Yeah, that was interesting, because I think either like just before or just after or something, you see the Eradicator in the Fortress of Solitude, which was like, oh, does that mean he's the real one? Because he's in Superman's spot, which I guess in this one it was just created for that, but...
Yeah, but they also do a good job of... Like, you almost think that one is the more evil one, because in the beginning, throughout the montage of, you know, all the Supermen saving people and fighting crime or whatever, that one's the most brutal.
Oh, yeah.
That one's the most, like, violent, like, clearly, you know, and, like, he tries to kill Lex in the one scene, and it's, like, the first scene of, like, all the Supermen coming in together into one scene was all of them essentially fighting that one. So you kind of think, oh, that's probably going to be, like, the evil one, but it's not, and what it turns out to be, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And like on the scene on the balcony, there's the whole thing of like, oh, he's talking like he's the actual Superman. But it's like not quite enough to fully convince at least me.
Well, right, because like he says like, oh, I don't have all my memories or whatever, so that, which is obviously, you know, just a trick to be like, oh, I don't remember that because I don't have all my memories. But like he says it in a very like sincere sounding way, to where you're like, maybe it could be. Yeah.
And then even before that, in the scene you're talking about where they're all fighting the Eradicator, he's trying to explain to the Eradicator that like you need to follow the law first, and you know, you can't just dish out justice on your own like that. Like stuff that's like genuine, like Superman-esque ideals.
Yeah, he's just a little more harsh and more, you know, because Superman wouldn't just kill Lex Luthor, you know.
Well, I mean, the cyborg one was saying that to the Eradicator.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying, sorry. You actually, your voice cut out for like a split second there, and I thought I got what you were saying, but then gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, you're right. Yeah, exactly. But it's like very clear that he's, later on you find out that he's doing that just to gain the trust of everyone. So everybody thinks, that's the real Superman. Because it's just interesting, because it's like it's almost like there's just this fight for which one of us is going to be seen as the real Superman by the public. You know, obviously Lex is trying to get Superboy to be seen as the next Superman, and like I just think that's a really cool, like, fun idea. It's almost like the public like just became so reliant on Superman that they're like, yeah, we need a new Superman, but which one is it going to be? I don't know. I just think that's really cool.
It's an interesting idea, them all fighting to replace him as like the symbol of hope for everybody. Because like with that gone, a lot of stuff becomes messed up in their worlds with criminals and all whatnot.
Well, right, because
so they're all like scrambling to fill that void.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think was a kind of a cool thing. And that's, well, then that's, you know, part of what Darkseid is doing. That's his plan, is like, get everybody to trust this one, the fake one that he has there, and then, you know, boom. But then, obviously, So, I'm trying to think about some other things. I liked the scene of Lois and Wonder Woman becoming friends. That was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
And I remember just thinking it was hilarious how much, like, just them standing next to each other, how much bigger Lois is, or not Lois, or Diana is than Lois. And I was just like, because obviously she's Amazonian. I was just like, oh yeah, like I feel like I don't think about it much, but I'm like, yeah, Wonder Woman would be larger, should be larger than the average woman, right?
You're speaking my language. I don't know. My weird head. I am much more aware of it than you are, and I do also very much enjoy that. Just large.
See, I just thought it was funny, but I just thought it was funny.
Diana is like holy hell. Anyway,
I feel like in the Justice League show, she's like taller than whenever she stands next to other women. She's taller too, but I don't know. I feel like I just noticed it more in this scene. I don't know.
I much prefer. Well, it's just because Justice League is old, but I much prefer all the character designs, especially Diana's, in this movie.
Yeah, they went for the more newer, more battle-looking design. Yeah. Like she looks more like a warrior with this design than she does in like the classic design.
She has muscles.
Yeah, but like, well, because the show's Wonder Woman, Justice League show, like they went with the classic Wonder Woman design. So it's which like doesn't quite. I don't know. It just doesn't quite look like Warrior's armor as much as this one does.
Yeah, it looks very much aesthetic, and that's it.
Yeah. Whereas in this one, she has the sword and the shield too, which is cool. Yeah. Because some versions of the character do, some don't. So it's like kind of a interesting thing. But then she tries to stab Doomsday and it breaks. All right.
Yeah. I just now thought of this. Neither the show nor this movie ever actually utilized the lasso of truth. They just utilize it as a lasso sometimes, and that's it.
Yeah. That is true. Like because it's the lasso of truth. Well, in this, when she gets it around Doomsday, she says like she's trying to like, I compel you to stop or whatever. So it wasn't using it the truth aspect of it, the lasso of truth, but it's like another sort of power. I don't know if the show ever does. I can't remember. Maybe it does at some point, but I can't remember.
I mean, it should. It's like it's a good tool to use, like both story-wise and the character like has it, and it's pretty iconic.
Yeah. And as far as so far in the show, she doesn't have her invisible jet.
You know what? That I'm a good bit more okay with.
Oh gosh. Yeah. But and then I'm trying to think of other. I also did like kind of like that when Superman comes back, he's not fully powered up yet. Like he doesn't have all of his powers back. He's still kind of weak. Not weak, but weak compared to Superman,
I was struggling to figure out how weakened he was, because Superboy said like it's 40 degrees outside and you're just a guy now. I'm just like, oh, is he like full just human level? And then he has a ship thrown at him and he can't catch it, but he does survive it easily.
Yeah, not full human level, but still not. Well, the other thing is like, Superman gets his power from the sun, right? So that's why there was that scene at the end where, Lois was like, oh, and then she pulled the thing and let the sun in. Which, by the way, I like Lois in these movies because she's not just a damsel in distress waiting to be saved. Like, she's actively trying to do stuff. Like, she freaking throws a rock at Doomsday in the first movie, which is like ballsy as hell for a regular human to do that. And in this, she's not just sitting there like, Superman, beat him up. Oh. She's like, what do I do? What can I do? And she's like, she sees this. She's like, oh, let me let some light in. She's like, she's actually actively, she could have stayed hiding somewhere, but instead she ran out. She got shot by the one, the bad Superman's laser, and then, pulled the thing. Like, it was a really, I think she's just a really cool character in this.
I fully agree. Once again, speaking my language, I don't know. I know a lot of people hate the whole damsel in distress characters. I do really hate them. They're just kind of irritating. But they don't do that in this movie at all, which absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because like she does need to be saved a fair amount of times, right? But she's not like just the person, somebody for him to save. She's actively doing something, actively involved in some way in the plot.
Whenever she's like physically capable of helping, she does. Like, obviously she couldn't save herself when she was falling out of the sky in a helicopter,
right? Because
she could pick up that gun and open up the light shield, the sun shield, to power up Superman, and she did.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I really like that, and they just handled their relationship really well, I think, in general too. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if I really have any negatives with these two movies in general. Like, I can't think of anything in particular that I didn't really care for in the movies. Like, I think, I don't know. Just think they're good.
I guess not. I mean, I might be able to nitpick about like the nature of Superman's recovery, because
that's true.
Like, there was sun shining down on him, I think, when he was in the Fortress of Solitude, and apparently he was also getting energy from the Eradicator when he came back. But then it was like he finally gets let out, but apparently it was too early because he wasn't done yet, and then just the sunlight helps him and basically fully powers him up.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know if it fully powered him, but it powered him enough to stop the cyborg Superman, which
somewhat makes sense, because I don't know how much light the Fortress of Solitude was getting him, but I assume less than direct sunlight without even atmosphere blocking it.
That's true. Maybe because it powers him quicker because he's not in the Earth's atmosphere, where there's like layers blocking, sun rays from the sun. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, but nothing really too major.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think overall it's and this is like what's that?
That did remind me, though, the scene of when Superman dies. I saw the progression of it, and at some point my brain was just like, oh, it's nighttime. He's not getting the power of the sun, so he should be weaker. And it made sense to me. Like, if it was daylight, he could just,
it would have been easier for him.
It gave it a reason for him to fail, even if it was that slight.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I can see that. That makes sense. I'm trying to think of other specific. I guess we could talk about the character of Lex Luthor, because he's obviously pretty prominent in these movies. I think he was generally handled pretty well. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They're too similar. I can't get it out of my head.
He literally looks like Lex Luthor.
I want to pull up two pictures of them side by side.
Yeah, but like it was kind of I like how they handle it, where it's like kind of like he's technically a bad guy, but he's helping them in the end to, obviously, because he doesn't want Darkseid to destroy the planet that he lives on. So yeah, and then like, so I thought he was generally done pretty well, which is actually interesting. Lex Luthor is voiced by the actor who played Dwight in The Office. I don't know if you ever watched The Office.
I haven't really, but I've seen some stuff. Dwight is he's
like the really weird guy with the glasses who's like
Battlestar Galactica dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
He voiced Lex Luthor.
Okay.
Which is
neat.
Really funny because their Dwight Schrute is nothing like Lex Luthor. But I was watching and I was like, he sounds kind of like Dwight, or well, the actor's name is Rainn Wilson. He sounds kind of like Rainn Wilson. I'm like, is he? And then I looked it up and I was like, yeah, he is. I mean, I'd say he voiced him pretty well.
I mean, yeah, I have no complaints. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by looking at side-by-side pictures of Jeff Bezos and Lex Luthor. And it's honestly not far off.
I mean, yeah. Well, there's like, apparently when Jeff Bezos laughs, it's like, it sounds like an evil villain laugh. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say on the story. I liked the Superboy's story here of like, trying to. He starts out where he's just kind of, an average kid that becomes a celebrity, where he's just like, taking in the fame. He's taking pictures with girls all the time. But then he kind of like matures a little bit in here to becoming a real hero, kind of, and kind of realizing that he shouldn't be following Lex.
Yeah, because like throughout the entire movie, even up to that final battle, like when he saved Lex from one of the super whatever you want to call them, the drones, he like stops to look at him before Lex goes back to work. I don't know, and it was just kind of a thing, like he was constantly looking for Lex's approval.
But he never
He's a really
got
sad
it.
character. Yeah.
Yeah. But now his other dad is back, so maybe he'll have a good father figure.
There was the ending scene with a picture of him with the mom and dad.
Yeah. Which is really cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
So it'll be nice to see it. Well, I don't know if there was any movies after this, because I know I think these take place in the like, there's like a movie universe, animated DC film universe. I don't know if these where they fall in line, or like what the order of them is, or if they all, I don't know. But I thought that was cool. I don't know. I don't know if I have a lot more to say about these movies other than it's a really good Superman story, I think.
It is.
Generally. Yeah. It really made me appreciate the character of Superman more than I typically do. Because I don't think I've ever hated the character of Superman, but I've just he's never been my favorite,
I know. My main problem with Superman is just the fact that a character without limits doesn't make for a good story, because there's no struggle. And then when you impose limits on him, I'm just like, he's Superman. He shouldn't have these. What are you doing? So it's just lose-lose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, so I don't know if I have much more to say. Do you have anything?
I'm all good.
All right. So anyways, that was The Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah, to get the titles right. Two very good DC animated movies, and I'm glad I watched them. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Next week on WABAN, we are going to be continuing our talk on the Justice League animated series with the first half of season 2. I generally enjoyed season 1. I had issues with it, but and you had issues with it as well. But we will see. We will see how season 2 fares. From what I remember, it's better, and from what I've heard, it's better. I've only seen season 2 once. I've seen season 1 many times as a kid, so I remembered that a lot. But yeah, so we're going to continue that with the first half. So definitely look forward to that. That'll be next week, and it'll be on next week Saturday noon Eastern Standard Time, because that is when every single episode of this podcast is uploaded. Noon Eastern Standard Time every week. Expect a new episode of WABAN. You can listen to the podcast on multiple different platforms, including the WABAN YouTube channel, which is just titled WABAN. You can find that in the description. And you can also find in the description my YouTube channel, which is called Nim TV. A link to that. You can definitely go and subscribe there. I talk about movies and TV shows similarly to this, but I do more... just more, I don't know, deep dives rather than like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess I just do whatever I want, however I want to talk about them. But I do like scripted videos and stuff. I guess that's the main difference. But anyways, yeah, definitely check that out. And thank you all for listening this week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.